everyone, it's Wacky Anime What If here. Here to present you with What If Deku Had a Yandere Quirk Part 6. Let's get into this. Currently, Izuku Midori is in quite the predicament right now. He's looking behind him to see Kurumi's creepy face and glowing red eye, while currently still spooning him in his bed, while looking towards the doorknob and seeing it jiggle. And immediately, as soon as it swings open, Izuku screams, "It's not what it looks like!" While Kurumi looks directly at Inko, who has a shocked face, and says, "It's exactly what it looks like." While Inko just looks at both of them, and Hisashi's like right behind her. They both have All Might faces, and they have both their hands upwards with thumbs up towards Izuku. And Izuku's like, "It's not what it looks like." They both run down the stairs and close the door, and they lock it. While Izuku just says, "It's not what it looks like," with a still flustered face, screaming it, while Kurumi says, "That was interesting," while Izuku says, "Oh, fuck me," and all of a sudden, Kurumi just says, "Gladly," and Izuku says, "Me and my fucking mouth." POV change. Bakugo just saw the funniest thing happen. Like, he's bursting out laughing watching Izuku and Kurumi with that really, really awkward interaction. It was hilarious, and he's just bursting out laughing while eating popcorn really loudly. And immediately looks beside and into the middle of the street and sees someone running down the street, Naruto running. And he immediately says, "Ha, fucking nerd. He's Naruto running. He's weeb running." And then he's like, "Fucking weeb." And then all of a sudden, he realizes something. It's getting closer towards his house. And there's dust clouds behind this man. Immediately, Bakugo says, "Hold up. He looks familiar." He looks closer, and then on the inside, he's screaming, "No, no, no." Guy getting closer to his house. "Yes, yes, yes." Immediately, Bakugo has a flashback. "I'm a guy, you know," is what Bakugo says, while the guy whispers in his ear, "I know." Immediately, Bakugo shudders, runs down the stairs, immediately goes to the door, closes it, locks it, immediately bolt locks it, puts a couch in front of it, and then puts his whole fridge in front of the couch. And immediately looks through the living room window and sees nothing there. He says, "Oh, my cheeks are safe," while immediately feels a touch from behind, right on his shoulder. He turns around and sees Hisoka with the creepiest rape face he can muster, and he says, "Your cheeks are mine, they ain't safe." And then immediately Bakugo says, "We can work this out," while Hisoka says, "I'm gonna give you two choices." And Bakugo's like, oh, you're actually reasoning. Okay, what are the choices? While immediately Hisoka says, "It's two choices. You can do this the easy way, or you can do this the hard way. The choice is yours." Immediately, Bakugo says, "How about..." Before he could even finish, immediately, Hisoka says, "I said the choice is yours, but actually the choice is mine. Now get that ass here. Bring that fat ass here." And then all of a sudden, the worst part happens. Bakugo just starts exploding away. He just explodes out the window and says, "You'll never catch me." While Hisoka just says, "Alright, I'm just gonna look at my phone." And immediately looks at his phone and sees the tracker. POV change an hour ago. Hisoka's just walking out of the entrance exam while completing it, and he's apparently in class 1B. Immediately, he thinks to himself, "Oh, I found that adorable little Bakugo," what his name was. While Kurumi walks up towards him after seeing what he did to Bakugo and thought it was hilarious. So he walks up towards him and says, "Hey, I know an app that lets you track Bakugo. I just made it. Would you like to purchase it? It's 99 cents in the App Store." And immediately Hisoka says, "What's the name?" While she says, "It's called You're Fucked." While immediately Hisoka says, "Yes, he is, but what's the name?" Immediately she says, "That's the name." And he says, "You had my interest before, but now you have my erection." And she says, "You mean your attention?" And immediately he says, No, I do not." While Kurumi just like scoots away from him and says, "I'm just gonna be going." And Hisoka says, "Yeah, I'll be going too." And he starts running away. While Kurumi just looks at him and just says, "Oh, Bakugo, you fucked up." POV change. Bakugo is screaming, "Fuck my life!" while Hisoka's running after him saying, "I will!" And he said, "No, literally." POV change. Izuku's currently getting dressed and everything, and immediately starts going down the stairs, starts to inhale every single bit of food that his mom made, and runs all the way towards the door, opens it, and runs all the way to UA, trying to get away from Kurumi. But little does he know, Kurumi's just behind him, just T-posing the entire time. While he looks behind him, at like halfway through to UA, and sees Kurumi T-posing with a glowing eye, he says, "Not today!" And then he pulls out a second whistle, and she says, "I thought I destroyed that whistle." While he says, "I got another one. I ordered two. One was under the box." And immediately she says, "Oh." And then old Western music just starts playing, and it shows Kurumi just staring at him, and Bakugo just running past them, while Izuku just stares at her intently, and just has the whistle towards his mouth, while Kurumi's just in T-pose position, just getting closer. And he immediately starts to whistle, and right when he whistles, one person comes out of nowhere. One person runs in the middle of them and says, "It's the Horny Police," and looks towards Kurumi and says, "The Horny Police cannot help you with this one." She has the Horny Pass. Immediately she pulls out a little pass, and it says Horny Pass. And Izuku says, "What the fuck is a Horny Pass?" And immediately the person says, "Well, it gets you away from Horny Jail." And Izuku says, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna start running." While he says, yes, you should. She immediately just runs towards him while T-posing, just levitating in the air, and just starts T-posing towards him very quickly. And Izuku's just bolting off, and he's using 4% into his legs, just running to school. POV change, third person. Currently, everyone's walking towards school to UA. Then they hear a girly scream saying, "No, not my ass," and then just starts running past him in explosions. And then they see an anorexic clown chasing him. They all move away because he has a really creepy face while chasing him, while weeb running, mind you. And then they hear another girly scream right behind them, and sees this one man just running very quickly with green hair and screaming like a little banshee girl, while a goth chick is T-posing behind him and like levitating off the ground really creepily with a glowing eye, just chasing him. Immediately Bakugo and Midoriya both make it to the class 1A door. They immediately think, "Oh my god, is this class for giants?" As they both look at the door. They immediately open the door at the same time, and as soon as they both press open the door, they look at each other because they both touched hands by accident. And Bakugo just says, "Oh, this has made it so weird." While Izuku says, "Yeah, this is just so weird now." And immediately they just open the door. They just walk in. Izuku immediately sees Kurumi in the front seat of the desk, in the desk, and just is tapping the desk beside her, just like tapping it repeatedly. And Izuku says, "I'm just gonna sit back here." He like sits at the back of the class, just near the window. While Bakugo says, "Hey, I call dibs on the protagonist seat." While Izuku looks at him and says, "Come back when you're a main character." Immediately he says, "I am a main character. This is my story." While Izuku says, "Yeah, keep telling yourself that." And Bakugo just walks towards the front and sits down, not even looking to the person beside him. He looks beside him and sees Hisoka. Immediately, Hisoka looks at him with a creepy smile and inches his desk closer, while Bakugo inches his further. And Izuku's just laughing mentally at this, until he realizes that he feels a tap on his shoulder. He looks beside him and he sees Kurumi with a face that just says, "You're fucked." Immediately, Izuku says, "How about this? We both watch Bakugo's misery, and you don't try to do anything to me." She looks at him and says, "How about this? We laugh at his misery, and then I chase you afterwards." And he says, "Well, at least you're going to chase me afterwards, so." And immediately they both just start laughing at Bakugo's misery right now, until Hisoka looks at Izuku and says, "You're next." And immediately Izuku just crouches down into a seat, just sinks into a seat, while Kurumi says, "This is mine." While Hisoka says, "Oh, is that a challenge?" Immediately they both start staring at each other, and then Hisoka says, "Never mind, you win. That's a creepy glowing eye." She says, "Why, thank you." And Hisoka is currently still inching close to Bakugo, and Bakugo is inching even further towards the window. Like, he's right at the window now. He just says, "You know what? Fuck this shit." He just yeets himself out the window while Hisoka just says, "Not today." And he stretches like bubblegum from out of his hands, and he grabs Bakugo by his left butt cheek. It just reels him back in. He says, "I got a big one." While immediately Bakugo says, "How stretchy is this?" And Hisoka says, "The question is, how stretchy are you?" And immediately Aizawa walks in. Doesn't walk in. No, he just caterpillars in. He just starts like wiggling into the classroom. And all of them just stare at him, except for Hisoka and Bakugo, while Bakugo's just screaming for Hisoka to stop reeling him closer. And Hisoka's just having the creepy smile. They all look at the caterpillar, and Kurumi says, "Oh, it's a caterpillar. Can I crush it?" While Azuki says, "No, don't crush the caterpillar. We don't know about it yet." Immediately, a man appears out of the caterpillar, and it was Aizawa, is what the man screams out. And immediately he says, "You thought it was a caterpillar, but it was Aizawa," he screams out, while everyone just looks at him and says, "I know that's a reference, but we don't really get it," is what they're thinking. While Azuka says, "That I know what reference that was." Just looks towards Kurumi, who's tilting her head very cutely. But like Midori is just trying not to think about it cute. So his mind is just picturing it as a rape face. And immediately Aizawa says, "All right, everyone, get all these gem suits on. Just go ahead and get your gym clothes on. We're going outside to test all your quirks in an apprehension test." While Uraka says, "Hey, what about orientation? We're gonna miss it." While he says, UA lets me teach my class how I want. And we're not doing orientation. After all, every second that you waste in your training is another life being lost," he says in a serious tone. While Midoriya understands this, and so does Kurumi. After all, there's a lot of, well, supposed pro heroes in training that she might have accidentally shot in the face a few hundred times. But hey, that's another story for another time, she thinks. While Izuku's shuddering while looking at her, because she's just giggling like a mad woman. And Hisoka is still reeling in Bakugo and has him like on his lap right now. And Bakugo just says, "I don't like this." While Aizawa says, "Hey you, anorexic clown." While anorexic clown says, "Yes." He says, "Your name was Hisoka, right? Could you get Bakugo off your lap?" And Bakugo, "You're Bakugo, right?" While Bakugo says, yes, I am. "Could you please help me?" While he says, "You can sit in your boyfriend's lap after class." And then immediately says, "This is not my boyfriend. I don't swing that way. Help me. This wasn't willingly." While Aizawa says, "Yeah, sure. Everyone get your gym clothes, go to the locker rooms and change." They all immediately get their gym clothes, walk all the way towards the locker room, while Kurumi is trying to drag Izuku into the bathroom with her for certain reasons. And Izuku's running away. Immediately slips out and runs away into the locker room. Right when he's in the locker room, he sees this one great ball guy getting closer towards this hole in the wall. He doesn't really mind it, so he just takes off his shirt, he just gets changed, and then Kurashima just grabs his shirt that he just took off and puts it on and says, "Oh my god, you're ripped. Like, these don't even match." As he's like taking his abs to hit his, like comparing them, he says, "That's so manly." While Izuku looks at him and says, "Thanks, I guess." And then he's like, "So what was your workout regimen?" And then Izuku says, "Well, my workout regimen was 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 10 kilometers, and 100 squats." And immediately Kirishima says, I know that reference, but that's not what you did, is it?" And he's like, no, I didn't do that. I just moved stuff from Daiba Beach." And they're all shocked that he moved all the stuff from Daiba Beach. And some of them have some newfound respect for him. While one great-headed person is walking closer to the little hole in the wall and puts his eye towards it, only to see a red glowing eye on the other end that blinds him immediately. And he says, my eyes, I'm blind. And Izuku looks at him and says, are you legally blind though? While he says, no, I'm blind right now. Why did you ask that? And Izuku just pulls out his phone, calls 911 and says, hey, there's a person that's illegally blind. And then all of a sudden, like, the cops are like, you keep on calling us every day for these pranks and for these memes. Could you just knock it off? While Izuku says, yeah, I'm sorry, sir. And just had his head down while everyone's just laughing at him. And Midoriya just walks closer towards Mineta and says, so how did you get blinded anyway? He says, I looked through there and there's a red glowing eye. Immediately, Izuku shouts on the other end and says, Kurumi, you better not be looking through that hole. He looks through the hole and sees absolutely nothing but an ear jack. And he immediately thinks, oh, I fucked up. He just gets poked in the eye. He says, my left fucking eye. POV change. Jiro just pokes someone in the eye who's trying to look through the hole. While Kurumi says, actually, he was looking through the hole to see if I was looking through the hole at him. While immediately Jiro says, I'm sorry, Midoriya. While Midoriya says, no problem, my eye fucking burns, though. While Kurumi says, I'll help you later. She says, and Izuku says, nah, I'm good, I'll just deal with the burning eye. And she says, your loss. While she just immediately just changes clothes, like all of them change. They walk out. Aizawa throws the ball towards Midoriya and says, here you go. Now throw it as hard as you can. Okay? Throw it as far as you can with your quirk. Immediately Izuku says, alright, I'll throw it as far as I can. Immediately puts the ball in his right hand, and he says, with all the power I have, my quirk in my fapping hand, I'll show you the true power of a person who is very lonely at night. While Kurumi says, that's not true. While Izuku says, shut the fuck up. While Kurumi just looks at him and says, you done fucked up, with a creepy smile. And Izuku says, I'm gonna regret that later. But until then, just yeets the ball with like 10% of one for all. And then it just like falls barely in front of him. Like it barely left his hand. And Izuku's like, what happened? Is what his face is like. While Kurumi's just busting out laughing, just rolling all over the ground, just laughing at him. So was Bakugo. And even Hisoka, the anorexic clown himself, is looking at this and laughing. And immediately Aizawa says, well, I stopped your quirk because I had a feeling we're going to break your fucking arm. And Izuku says, I wasn't going to break my arm. While he said, oh yeah, okay, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. He immediately picks up the ball and says, alright, I'm going to use 10%. He immediately reels his arm back. And as soon as he throws it, there's a sonic boom go off. And immediately, when the sonic boom goes off, you can see the ball fly in the air and just disappear. While Uraka says, did that just go into orbit? And Aizawa says, nope, it didn't go into orbit. He looks at the actual counter on his phone, and he says, it just went like 55,000 meters. I don't know where it went, though. POV change. Nezu has just gotten out of Build-A-Bear workshop. It is now driving towards UA. All of a sudden, he sees a ball in the air flying all the way towards him. And immediately he says, oh my god, no, please don't, please, oh god, no. And then all of a sudden the ball is like, I'm about to end this man's whole career. It hits him in the side of the head through the windshield, and then his car just crashes. And he says, who the fuck threw this ball? Who would do such a thing? POV change. Izuku just sneezes. And he looks at Aizawa and says, I told you I wouldn't break my arm. And Aizawa says, look at your arm. He looks at his arm and it's just bent the wrong way. And Izuku's like, that was my fapping arm. While Kurumi just looks at him, appears beside him and says, I could use my arm. While Izuku just looks at her and says, no thank you. No thank you. While Hisoka appears on his right side and says, I could use my arm. And Izuku says, definitely not. Hell no. And then Bakugo is just laughing at this. And so is Aizawa. He's on the ground laughing at this even more. And then he says, alright, so you should probably go to Recovery Girl for that broken arm. Recovery Girl was in the stands laughing and says, no, I'm already here. She immediately kisses his arm and it just heals and he's a little bit tired. And Aizawa says, as punishment, you're going to have to do that while you're tired. You're going to have to do all the rest while tired. And immediately Izuku says, oh, okay, fine. While his eyes are just like closing and opening, and he has like bags under his eyes right now. And Kurumi, seeing this, says, I'm gonna pull a prank on him later. While Hisoka says, that ass is mine now. While Bakugo just looking at Hisoka and Kurumi and just thinks, yeah, he's fucked. Right when he says that out loud, Hisoka says, nope, that's you. While appearing behind Bakugo and just taking off with him. While Aizawa says, hey, don't leave with your boyfriend. While Bakugo says, that's not my boyfriend. While Hisoka says, I will be though. And just taking off with him. And he says, you know what? I'll just pass those two anyway. I've already seen their quirks and I've seen they have potential. So I'll just let them pass. And immediately Bakugo is screaming for help while Aizawa's just continuing the test. He says, alright, now we're going to continue. And immediately Mina says, oh, so we get to use our quirks on all of these? This is going to be so fun. Immediately Izuku, his face snaps out of what he was thinking about. He looks towards Mina, and Aizawa looks towards her. Aizawa's about to say something, but Midoriya says, oh, it's fun, huh? Well, there are families that are being hunted by villains. There are villains that are power hungry, trying to kill everything for power. There are people who are in danger from natural disasters. Are any of those fair? Huh? Also, is that fun to you? Does it sound fun? He snaps a little bit. After all, Midoriya hasn't been the same since a certain incident occurred. Is what Kurumi was thinking while looking at Midoriya. Her eyes softening a little bit. She hugs him from behind, while Midoriya grabs at his chest, feeling like he's having a panic attack right now. And he says, Aizawa, can I just skip out on all this? And Aizawa looks at him and says, no, you can't. And thanks for saying what I was going to say. But anyway, whoever puts in last gets expelled. And Izuku looks at him and wants to say something, but he knows it's not really unfair. After all, power-hungry villains aren't fair. Why should he be? Immediately, Aizawa says, so let's go ahead and go. Mina was trying to say something, but immediately Izuku gave her a glare. She immediately shut up. And she thought in her head, what was wrong there? While immediately Aizawa said, alright, the next one's the sprints, okay? Kurumi and Izuku, you're up. While Kurumi is beside Izuku, she looks at him and says, I think I know how to make him pass. While he's very sleepy and can barely move. She immediately appears behind him and starts T-posing behind him. He looks behind him and sees Kurumi with a creepy rape face and a glowing eye. And as soon as Aizawa says go, Izuku just put like 10% in his legs unconsciously and just burst off all the way to the front of the finish line. And Aizawa just clicked the timer and said, that was 0.1 seconds. And also, how did you keep up, Kurumi? While Kurumi was right behind him, just like already kept up with him. And she immediately says, well, I don't skip leg day. And Aizawa just face palms himself. The rest of the test goes on like normal and canon, except for Kurumi and Izuku are dominating it. Izuku's number 2, while Kurumi is number 1. Mostly because she used her clones on most of them. Or she stopped time. So, Aizawa was just saying, you all did good, now you can all go home. After all, today's a short day. They all started walking home, while Ida and Uraka tried to make friends with Izuku, but, well, let's just say Kurumi just, like, shoos off Uraka. And Ida just starts trying to make friends with Izuku, but Izuku just looks at him and says, you know what? Fine. They shake hands. They start to like set up a date where they can hang out. As soon as Izuku's walking home, Kurumi is right behind him and says, hey, remember what you called me before? While Izuku looks behind him and says, I don't remember. And she says, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to mess with you. But are you okay? She asks in a worrying tone, which is honestly quite odd, is what he thinks. He says, yeah, I'm okay. She immediately looks at him and says, well, if it means any better, he's probably in a better place. Izuku starts saying, yeah, I hope so. While he's thinking about his friend who horribly died from a villain attack. He walks home, and they both walk home while Kurumi notices that Izuku unconsciously grabbed her left hand and is holding it. She starts to smile and thinks in her head, looks like me and him can have a good relationship after all. Me and him can always go out on a few dates, maybe. She starts creepily giggling on the inside while Izuku just now looks at his hand and just realizes he's holding her hand. Tries to reel it back, but gets a horrible gorilla grip into his hand, and she looks at him and just has it in a demonic tone. You're keeping that hand here. And Izuku says, okay. They both walk into the house, into Izuku's house. She just like disappears, and Izuku walks up to his room, lays on his bed, and then all of a sudden, Kurumi pops out of the closet and says, I'm a warrior. And Izuku says, you gotta stop doing that. While she says, nope, no I am not. And she just lays beside him, goes to sleep with him. POV change. Bakugo is currently in the trash can in front of his house. He's trying to hide from Hisoka, but all of a sudden he realizes something. The trash was never this soft. In the trash can. He looks behind him and sees Hisoka behind him and he says, hello there, little girl. While Bakugo says, I'm not a girl. And Hisoka whispers in his ear and says, I know. You can hear horrible screams from the trash can. And you can see Bakugo running out of the trash can, running into his house, locking the door, deadbolting it, and putting barricades in front of it. While Mitsuki asked how his day was, and he just said, I almost got fucked by an anorexic clown. And that's how we're going to end What If Deku Had a Yandere Quirk Part 6. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you do, smash that like button and destroy that subscribe button. Goodbye.